What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and I want to welcome you guys back to another historical battle. Today we're going to be covering the second Kinslaying, which is a battle that I have actually covered before on the channel. I'll put a link for you guys down in the description, as they are both well-researched and well done. But this is going to be, of course, in Silmarillion Total War, so it's going to be a little bit more authentic, given that we will actually have a Doriath and a dedicated Feyenoor faction with which to pit against each other. And so, without any further ado, let's get into the history behind this battle, and then, finally, we can jump into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. When the news of the attack on Doriath by the dwarves of Nogrod reached Beren in Tol Galen, he, along with his son Dior, and the green elves of Osirion, waylaid the dwarves near the river crossing of Sarn Athrad. The dwarves who escaped the first onslaught and fled to the slopes beneath Mount Dolmed were driven into the shadowy woods of the trees by the shepherds of the forest, and none escaped. In that battle, Beren himself slew their king and recovered the Nauglamir, which they had taken from the corpse of Thengol. However, as he died, the Lord of Nogrod laid his curse upon all that treasure. Beren was amazed when he saw the necklace, for in it was set with the Silmaril, which he himself had cut from Morgoth's crown. He washed it clean in the waters of the river Askar, and that same river was renamed Rathloriel, the Golden Bed, for after the battle, all the treasures of Doriath had been lost beneath its waves. The Nauglamir was taken back to Tol Galen, and then worn by Luthien, and when she wore the Silmaril, for a little while the land of the dead that live became like a vision of the land of the Valar, and no place has been so fair, so fruitful, or so filled with light. When Dior bade farewell to his parents, he journeyed to Menegroth, along with his wife, Nimloth, and his children Elured and Elurin and Elwing. The elves of Doriath received them with joy. Under the rule of Dior, the glory of the realm recovered for a while. In the autumn, an elf came to Menegroth. He was the lord of the green elves of Osirion. He gave to Dior a coffer, and in it was the Nauglamir, wherein was set the Silmaril. Dior, looking upon it, knew it for a sign that Beren and Luthien had died indeed. Then Dior arose and clasped the Nauglamir about his neck, and appeared as the fairest of all the children of the world, of threefold race, of the Edain, the Eldar, and the Maiar of the Blessed Realm. The rumor traveled among the scattered elves of Beleriand, and they said, "A Silmaril of Feyenoor burns again in the woods of Doriath." When news about these events reached the sons of Feyenoor, their oath was awakened from its slumber, for while Luthien had worn the necklace of the dwarves, no elf would dare assail her. But now it seemed to the sons of Feyenoor, as they heard of the renewal of Doriath and of the pride of Dior, that they could recover the Silmaril. The seven sons gathered again from their wandering and sent messages to Dior, stating their claim upon the Silmaril. But Dior returned no answer, and Celegorm stirred up his brothers to prepare an assault upon Doriath. The sons of Feyenoor, along with their followers, assaulted Doriath with a surprise attack in the middle of winter, and fought with Dior in the Thousand Caves. This was the second slaying of elf by elf. In that battle, Dior slew Celegorm. Curufin and Caranthir also fell. Dior was also slain along with his wife Nimloth. Elured and Elurin were seized, taken into the woods, and left to starve by the cruel servants of Celegorm. Maedhros repented of this act of vengeance and cruelty against the children, and he long sought for them in the woods, but his search was unavailing, and the fate of Dior's sons is not known. Thus Doriath was destroyed and never rose again, but the sons of Feyenoor gained not what they sought, for a remnant of the people fled before them, and with them was Elwing, Dior's daughter, and they escaped, and bearing with them the Silmaril, came to the mouths of the river Sirion by the sea. And here we are, gentlemen, on the battlefield today. We're going to take a look at the Doriath army compositions first. Boop. A little bit of a spike there. and then we're going to move on to the Feyenoorian armies who will be attacking today. There are, of course, a few rules to note. This is a scenario. The Doriath forces are not allowed to deploy in advance, as this is a ambush battle, and they are surprised. That being said, I apparently didn't feel the need to pay any serious attention to that rule, so I'm going to be deploying. That's really just my bad. I was on stream while I did this, and I just made a mistake. The rest of my allies, however, will honor this rule, and that is why they're not going to deploy in anything other than what they start in, and in the area that they start with. So let's go ahead, turn down the speed a little bit, and we can take a look at the Doriath army compositions. We're going to start with my army. My army is by far the, composition-wise at least, it is kind of the least suited to fighting a very large Feyenoor army. I've got 4 companies of the spear host of the girdle. You can see them there. They are spearmen armed with decent shields and a javelin. Their javelins, however, are not armor-piercing, it is worth noting. I may make these javelins poison javelins in the future, which means they will get the poison arrow trail, allowing them to do some morale damage just to make them a little bit more versatile, as they are the only medium line infantry unit that Doriath can field. Most of their army is composed of high tiers, but for the most part my army is going to be the medium tier units. So I've got 4 units, spear host of the girdle, a couple companies of the wardens of the girdle, who, much like the poison javelins that I was musing on earlier, are equipped with poison arrows, and these do morale damage. They're the same poison arrows that you will find in Reforged, as I made the arrows there, so I just carried them over into this iteration. Next we have the marksmen of Region, which are not exactly an archer unit as many of us conceive of them. They are armed with fairly decently damaging silverthorn arrows, and their main purpose is to be able to suppress enemy movement. They are fantastic at laying down pressure and tossing units into the air, and even if they don't necessarily kill those units, it does, with concentrated fire, cause those units to need to reform. So it pins them in place, which is a very, very useful tool indeed. Maybe not as much in this case, as what I need more is raw killing power. I've got 2 units of those marksmen. Here we have the Doriath and Mablung, and you can get a good view of our Thingol general unit here. This was created by Sin of the Dark Cloud, and it is goddamn cool. Look at that. That is like the coolest, probably one of the coolest general's bodyguard, or general models that I've ever seen. And this bodyguard here is named after Mablung, Doriath and Mablung. I can't remember exactly what it means, but N, I think, is like a genitive particle, and it's like of Mablung, basically. Yeah. So they're two-handed macemen, very, very powerful, armor-piercing, that sort of thing. I've also got 2 companies of sword host of Region. Thank God I've got some of the Doriath high tiers here. But that's really my only like high-tier infantry units. And I've also been provided with 2 companies of the Outriders of the Girdle. They're getting a little bit dirty, and that's just because I haven't put the invisible mask on that will remove this dirt, so you're not going to see this in Silmarillion Total War. It's just that I haven't applied the fix in this particular build, but that will be available in our alpha update that's going to be coming up very, very shortly. The next army we have is being controlled by Seraph, and he's got a much more traditional Doriath army. He's got the 2-handed axes here, which are devastatingly powerful. I think he's got 2 or 3 companies of them. He's also got Axguard of Region, who are total meat grinders when it comes to certain types of infantry. They maybe won't be as powerful against the heavily armored Sons of Feyenoor, who pair high shield and high armor values together with decent melee defense, but they are still a decent unit that can certainly hold its own in close quarters. And against the Edain, of course, that we're inevitably going to see among the ranks of the Sons of Feyenoor, those units are going to be king. I've got 2 units here of Doriath Spearmen, or Spearmen of Region, and we've got some Sword Host of Region here as well. About 3 or so units. So we've got Shield Bearers to the tune of 3 Shield Bearers, got 2 Axe Guard, 2 of the heavily armored Axemen, and we've also got Marksmen, 2 Marksmen of Region. Mounted Company of Region, this is the melee cavalry unit for Doriath. Very, very tough, very reliable. And they also don't take penalties in the woods, so they can fight in the woods better than the Feyenoor cavalry can. So that is a big advantage here, because we have so much forest terrain down. And there's another company here for the mounted company of Region as well. I think he's got a general's bodyguard hiding in here somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's a Doriath and Mablung. Could be wrong though. I don't see. Oh, that's them right there. Yep, so he's going to have a unit of Doriath and Mablung as well, which is going to be important later on. Over here, we have the army commanded by Tundra's Fox. This is our third and final Doriath army, and he's got a nice mix. He's got Spear Host of the Girdle, he's got Shield Bearers, he's got Axe Guard, more Shield Bearers, got some Wardens of the Girdle, yet more Wardens. He's got some Outriders, just one company of Outriders. Worth noting that the Outriders are able to hide anywhere, so they're fantastic for ambushes, but once they reveal themselves, they're quite easily shot down, so you need to kind of like pick and choose your moment very carefully with them. He's also got some Doriath and Mablung, Wardens of the Girdle, and a whole bunch of nice stuff back here too. Some more Spear Host of the Girdle, and then some Axe Guard as well. Not a lot of armor piercing here, but he does have a good mix of spears and axes, which is exactly what you would expect from a Doriath army. And now, that's going to wrap it up for Doriath. Let's go ahead and see what the Sons of Feyenoor are bringing to the battle today. And the Sons of Feyenoor are going to be packing some serious heat. Here we have Secretariat, one of our lead developers, and he has 3 units of the Archers of Amarod with their armor upgrades. Also got some Roqueni Magloro, which is the knight unit for the Sons of Feyenoor, currently the only knight in the game. Got some mounted company here of Caligorm. These are Lancers, heavy Lancers at that. Worth noting that Lancers work a little bit differently in Silmarillion than they do in Reforged. Lancers do have a bonus against warg units. Not really pertinent in a battle like this, but it is something worth noting, and that I kind of want to hammer home to a lot of people. 2 companies there of the mounted company of Caligorm, and we got some Rangers of Halavorn here as well, who are very, very deadly. These are Javelin Men and medium infantry. He's also got a very scary body of infantry over here as well, mostly heavy infantry. 2 companies of the Shield Bearers of Halavorn. 2, as I said, 2 units here. They're medium spearmen, or I guess they're really more on the heavier side if you upgrade them. 3 companies of Defenders of Aglon, all with their armor upgrades. Very scary unit in their lacquered crimson plate. And then here we've got the more wine-colored lower tier units. Footmen of Amras with their armor upgrades. 3 companies of them in total. I don't think he has any other cavalrymen. So let's move on now to his ally here in the center. And that is going to be the army of DT, King of Isengard. This is one of my clanmates and our testers. His name is Artorius. And he has... Oops. He's got 1, 2 units there of archers. 3 units of Archers of Amarod. Otorn Maitimo, this is the bodyguard of Maedhros himself. And you can see the general right there. That's the generic general model for the Sons of Feyenoor. He's also got Footmen of Amras. 1, 2, 3, 4 companies of Footmen of Amras. He's got Mounted Company of Caligorm, and he's got the Mounted Company of Kurufin as well, which is a melee cavalry Jav-Cav hybrid. Very much a superiority unit for the Sons of Feyenoor. The Lancers are a little bit more specialized, but these guys, melee cavalry, they've got their javelins. They're fantastic for fighting mounted units and for supporting the front lines sometimes as well. We've got Riders of the Pass. 1 unit as far as I can see, although I imagine there's another one hanging around somewhere. It could be that he's a little bit more infantry focused. Either that or there's some cavalry hiding here in the woods, and we'll see them a little bit later down the line. Move on to the third and final army. This is the one directly opposite myself, being played by Snoop, otherwise known as Steward of Dale. He has, I believe, 1, 2 companies at least of the Mounted Company of Kurufin. He's definitely got 2 Riders of the Pass. He's got Mounted Company of Caligorm, and he's got his own unit. Whoa! Leg. Of the Roqueni Magloro, which is the mounted bodyguard of Maglor, one of the Sons of Feyenoor. Second company of the Mounted Company Kurufin, 3 Riders of the Pass, perhaps. Yeah, he's got 3 Riders of the Pass, so very cavalry heavy on this side. He's also got Footmen of Amaras, the tune of 3 companies. A couple Rangers of Halavorn as well. And he's got some Defenders of Aglon. And I don't think he has any Spearmen. It's a little bit different from each army in the way that they vary between proportions of cavalry and mounted bowmen, and some have more lancers, and some have less, and some have knights, and some don't. Altogether, pretty interesting and varied force. Let's go ahead and see how they fare against the massed armies of Doriath. So immediately upon the gates opening, my allies are going to opt to fall back a little bit farther up the hill. So I'm going to move to secure our flank here and to link up with my ally. And Seraph's going to pull down from that hill there, which is, you know, it's unfortunate. It's a nice hill. We could have used that to our advantage, but ultimately my ally's strategy, which I didn't know about beforehand, is going to be to pull back into the woods. We're going to try and fight there. So you can see a general retreat here from the center, and then when I noticed that, I realized that it's my turn to fall back. And so if you look down here beneath the tree line, there are some minor stake fortifications, and we're gonna hide behind those and try and use the stake fortifications to our advantage and to limit the mobility of their cavalry and their striking power, specifically against our front lines. And then over on this end, the army of Tundra's Fox, yep, they've already fallen back into the woods, which is not a bad idea. I mean, a lot of the Doriath units do get bonuses in the woods, and their light infantry in particular so. So this will give us a slight advantage when it comes to fighting some of the Feyenoor infantry, and certainly some of our armies are going to need that more than others. The center army is really the most powerful, the most anti-infantry oriented. But Tundra's Foxes, it's an okay mix, but they are going to be facing one of the more infantry-heavy Feyenoor armies, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them, especially when they don't have the heavy axemen, which is certainly going to make a difference when fighting these heavily armed warriors. Myself, I've fallen everyone back. I didn't want to move my Outriders right away because I didn't want to give away their position, and I wasn't cognizant enough of my deployment to move them back here into the woods where I could potentially freely maneuver them without Steward noticing their presence. Steward is going to surge forward as well. You can see he's got mounted company of Kurufin and some Riders of the Pass here. Mid and long range skirmish cavalry taking point. The knights are going to be a little bit slower to catch up, but they will get there eventually. And his cavalry is just kind of acting as a vanguard, so I think that maybe they suspect already that there are some cavalry units here. Although maybe not. Maybe this is just Stoop being an experienced and competent player, and he doesn't want to take any chances. Over here, you can see a lot of the cavalry from Secretariat has moved up onto this hill. He's not using his cavalry in the same way, and it's not necessarily the end of the world. I have more cavalry fighting Steward, and he might know that from looking at the screen. Then he's going to have to face down with Tundra's Fox. But he's going to separate his cavalry from his infantry, and he's going to move his infantry up a little bit separately, which can be, sometimes that can be a problem, but we'll see. We'll see how it ends up working for Secretariat. Move over onto the side. You can see that Stoop is going to be the first one to get himself into position. And we can see Riders of the Pass here beginning to line themselves up, and the skirmish fight begins. My poor spear host got a little bit lost along the way, and there's not really a direct path for them to go here, so they have to go all the way around, and they're going to get peppered the whole time that this is happening. And I can see them moving in closer and moving in for a bit of a kill there. These guys are going to move to try and surround while these guys move to the other side, so I figure, what the hell. I need the spearmen more than I need my cavalry, so I'm going to quickly activate my cavalry and hope that I can catch Steward off guard with a sudden charge. These cavalry are not particularly useful in my matchup, and Steward definitely made sure that that was going to be the case by using his cavalry as a vanguard, so he's kind of forced my hand here to reveal my cavalry, which is good on his part. Intended or not, it does have that as a consequence. And so what I'm going to try and do is just go for whatever most vulnerable target I can find. So the Riders of the Pass here, I definitely want to take a bite out of them. The mounted company of Kelegorm are a little bit too slow to keep up with my lighter Lancers, so I'm going to get a charge here off on the Riders of the Pass, which is exactly what I wanted to go for. Over here, unfortunately, my guys get caught by the mounted company. They do put up a fight, but they're going to miss the Riders of the Pass almost entirely. And so Stoop's going to move for a surround. I'm not going to give it to him quite so easily, so I'm going to pull my Outriders out. They are quite fast, so they can get in and out as quickly as you like. And then I see these guys standing out here in the open, so I'm going to go for the Riders of the Pass there with what remains of my tiny little unit of Outriders there, only about 5 of them. And I'm going to wheel back around with my other Outriders and hit these guys as well. And it does do some damage. This takes a toll on his horse archers. So we're going to cut them down to about 42. These guys we got down to from 38. So that's about 14 men dead there. And we've got, I think, 10 men there. So about 24 horse archers and about 10 of his mounted company. So, oh sorry, 11. They started at 52, I do believe, or 62 rather. So, it's not a lot, but it's something. And I did make him pay a little bit, and in that exchange I lost both of my cavalry essentially. So I have no more cavalry left on the field, and now he's free to do his thing. But while all that was going on, and they were pinned in place by my cavalry, I did have some archers firing at him, which is worth noting. And now as the Riders of the Pass come in and set up, I'm going to have the opportunity to whittle them down. They're going to keep going after the spear host. I couldn't see it as clearly because of the tree cover. It does obscure things somewhat, but I am returning fire here with my own foot archers, and it's fairly significant. We cut these guys down by like 8 men or so, and now I've got my marksmen as well firing in. And Steep's gonna be very aggressive with his cavalry and move to engage my right wing. Over here, I got King of Isengard from Artorias, who's helping out his buddy, and they're gonna be taking some shots at me from the front. This is going to do much better for me. I think some of my units end up actually tossing javies at these guys, and we do catch a few of them out, and some of them will fall. Over here, we see Tundra's Fox has launched a surprise attack with his Outriders of the Girdle, and honestly, it's a good thing. This is very, very exposed. This is really all the use that these Lancers have, is out here in the field, on the approach. If there's an opportunistic strike that we can make, then we need to try and do it with these units, because otherwise they're basically expendable. But yeah, a nice hard hit there into the front Secretariat's unit, killed about a fifth of the unit off. He's moved his archers over this direction, and they are currently dueling with those of Tundra's Fox. Might not be a terrible idea to bring in his cavalry, although I think yes indeed, there are some Sons of Feyenoor units in close attendance, Rangers of Helivorn, and the Mighty Knights, the Roquetti Magloro. Not something that you want to play with lightly when you only have a Lancer company at your command. Stoop coming over here with some more of his heavy cavalry. Looks like he's pulled off all of his cavalry and he's going to move them to his side to try and overwhelm my, I guess this would be my left wing. See if we can find them down here in the forest. Still dueling with my skirmishers. These Riders of the Pass are now down to 16, a significantly reduced threat from what they once were. But still, this would have been a nice time to have my cavalry, but I would have had to move them, and they probably would have been seen from where they were, so, you know, in hindsight, I'm not feeling too bad about how I used my cavalry here. And those Riders of the Pass are starting to take it, and now I think they're actually out of ammunition. So these guys are done. It's just the 16 here Riders of the Pass that still have ammo to shoot at me. And of course, there's some reinforcements coming in, so now a fresh company has arrived, and they're beginning to open fire on me. Mounted company and knights moving into the woods. Worth noting that cavalry units that aren't Wood Elven cavalry take penalties in the woods, and that is a scaling penalty. It is not a flat penalty. It is a scaling penalty based on their charge bonus. So units like the Roquetti Magloro are significantly less deadly in the woods. Well, by about 7 or so damage, I think. So it's a fair amount. It certainly negates any bonuses they might have against cavalry, for example. So fighting them up in the woods was probably the best case scenario for us. And you can see, ooh, it's getting ugly. Stu coming in close with the Riders of the Pass. Javelins raining into them as they approach us. They're going to get a decent charge off on the wing of my Marksmen of Region. But they're also going to take some close quarters volleys. Now they're going to be fighting some of the most fearsome swordsmen that Doriath has to offer. And you can see that the Riders of the Pass are not having a good time right now, as the Marksmen of Doriath are really giving it to them. Sword Host of Region, previously hidden in the forest, have now moved in support. These guys are going to have to retreat through a wall of enemies, also being pressed by Wardens of the Girdle, who are now out of ammunition. Stoop has brought up his Rangers of Helivorn, trying to get some decent javelin volleys off. I do notice it. I got my Spear Host here, and I am going to pull off my Wardens of the Girdle as well, and use them to engage that unit of Wardens of... are they Wardens or Rangers? Rangers of Helivorn, and prevent them from firing into my Sword Host. Sword Host, unfortunately, getting a little bit turned around. Donathan Mablung being moved in support. And you're going to see a general charge here from a lot of my units as I try to catch Steward's cavalry off guard. Trying to use that tree cover to my advantage. And now my troops charging in here. Again, do note that my Wardens of the Girdle get bonuses in the forest, although so do the Rangers of Helivorn, to be fair. Donathan Mablung charging forward under heavy, heavy fire. Getting close, but not close enough, unfortunately, to catch those Riders of the Pass. Stu is trying to envelop my line using his superior mobility with his cavalry. That's a little bit harder to micro, unfortunately, with all of this tree cover, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. You can see a general charge coming in here. Marksman, Sword Host, Donathan Mablung being supported by Spear Host of the Girdle. And another unit of Sword Host there. And we're going to start to envelop his cavalry in turn. And then, I do believe I have some reinforcements moving up as well. Clear line of fire here for my Wardens of the Girdle. But there are also, or there will be shortly, a unit of Spear Hosts of the Girdle that make their way up there in order to shore up the lines. We're going to go over to the center now, where things are starting to kick off between Doriath and the Sons of Feyenoor, commanded by Artorius. General charge here, and it looks like the Mounted Company were used to catch some of the Archers of Amrod off guard, which is a great move on the part of Seraph. Going to minimize the amount of damage that the actually fairly hefty contingent of ranged forces of the Sons of Feyenoor have at their disposal. Footman of Amoras moving in. General movement from Artorius' army. It looks like he's setting up for a big charge. Ooh, and the Mounted Company of Celeborn get a little bit too close to the spear companies hidden underneath the trees here. And some of them will be left behind in the retreat and cut down by those vicious spears. And it's looking like a general attack here from those shield bearers. And they're going to get themselves caught up with the Footmen of Amoras. Probably not a good idea. I think that Seraph maybe tried to pull them out here, but realized there was no escape. And now that one company is going to end up holding off several units of Footmen of Amoras. Missiles moving in support here as Artorius' still functional companies of Archers of Amrod outside the tree line begin to focus down on those revealed Doriath units. I'm going to pop over to this side. Big fight here between the Axe Guard and Footmen of Amoras. Footmen of Amoras certainly getting the worst of it. Over on this end, the Wardens of the Girdle have been thinned out. Outriders of the Girdle being used to respond to aggression from the Mounted Company of Caligorm. And they're going to be used in support of the Spear Host of Region. Secretariat, unfortunately, might find himself in a bit of a pincer move here, and he's going to lose a decent amount of his heavy lancers in that retreat. Cut down to 33. Archers of Amrod still kicking, but now with the retreat of those heavy lancers, they are going to be exposed. And the longer that Tundra's Fox lets his outriders be exposed to this, the more that they're going to fade away. But I think it would be a good time to hit these guys with those light lancers. But unfortunately, he's going to pursue all the way outside the tree line. Oh no! I see what he's doing. Looks like he's going to move to support his beleaguered troops on the other side. The Footmen of Amoras have started to pull it back a little bit. You can see a bit of a rear charge here against the Axe Guard of Region, and the numbers as well. I think there's at least 2 companies here of the Footmen. They are starting to overwhelm them. Although, how long is that going to be the case? Boom! Right into the rear. Love that as a screenshot that might just go into our thumbnail. Outriders of the Girdle. Surprise attack into the Footmen of Amoras. Didn't even see it coming. Move back over to the center here. And it's a tough fight. This is where Doriath is at their strongest. Although how long that's going to remain the case with the Mounted Company of Caligorm from Artorius in behind Seraph's main force remains to be seen. And it looks like Seraph might be trying... Oh, he has some forces a little bit farther back here in the woods. He's got some reserves that he is moving forward. The Mounted Company of Caligorm getting picked at by the Marksman of Region. Oh, and a big charge here. And it doesn't look like Artorius is going to see it coming. And so that is going to pay off. You can see the power of Axe units on the charge. And they're going to go from 38 down to 33, potentially a little bit lower, down to 30. That's a big drop in numbers for such a small unit. 29, and now they're going to turn and wheel against the center of Doriath. And he needs to do something to stop this. I don't think Seraph is going to see it coming, unfortunately. And this is going to flatten his line. A devastating charge from those Lancers in the center. It's a lot of pain. And more units moving in, and the line of Doriath is being overwhelmed here amongst the trees. Mounted Company of Region moving against the Mounted Company of Kudrufin, catching them out. And in a column formation, actually a nice like rear charge. Marksman of Region are nearby in support. Let's pop on over to my side, where things are looking a little bit grim. We've got some of Seraph's warriors who have moved over to help me. and they're taking a big bite out of the Rangers of Helleborn. There's also some more Warriors of Region over here, but they're being overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of the Feyenoor infantry. I've got marksmen here trying to help out, but it's a broken battle line in a lot of different places. Rangers of Helleborn managed to disentangle themselves from my infantry. I do have a lot of infantry over here in the trees, but they're being surrounded and cut down. Decent amount of spears in here, though. We have done some serious damage to the cavalry here. The Repenting Magloro down to 9. Mounted Company of Kurufin really taking a big hit here. Some reinforcements, some much-needed reinforcements underneath the trees, charging down against the heavy lancers, trying to pin them in place and get as many kills in the Feyenoor cavalry as they can. As we saw earlier, Stu's army is mostly cavalry. He has significantly less infantry and significantly less quality infantry than his counterparts in the center and on his right. Defenders of Aglon looking a little bit worse for wear here. Certainly tired after a long drawn-out struggle against some of my sword host units. Stu's going to pull his units through my spear host. But this is really where the power of spear units comes into view, I think, in Silmarillion Total War. Oh, there goes my general. Unfortunately, he was cut down. But you can see a lot of cavalry die as they move through here. One of those is a knight. And Stu's cavalry is looking real worse for wear. The Warriors of Region are being quite swiftly defeated, though I do have some more of my spearmen, I think, over here as well. And they're helping out. Rangers of Helleborn down to 60, about half strength there. And it looks like Seraph is trying to retreat some of his units, but unfortunately Stu has seen it. He's going after him with his cavalry, but what Seraph needs to do is just turn around and charge these guys. He could, in a straight fight, it looks like a lot of cavalry, but he could slaughter them. There's some understrength knights in there, there's Mounted Company, and there's like Mounted Company of Kelegorm and Kurufin. This is a fight that unit of infantry can win, but not if they take repeated rear charges. Now they're starting to lose their numbers there. It's gonna start to change and shift in favor of the cavalrymen of the Sons of Feyenoor. Over in the center, it seems like there is also a general retreat. Seraph is retreating his Donathan Mablung. Marksman of Region here from Seraph. He's going to try and get them inside. And some more of his units here retreating from the front. You can see the victorious Sons of Feyenoor armies in close, hot pursuit. Shield Bearers of Region trying to get away. Defenders of Aglon are just simply faster, though. And they're not as fatigued, so over time they will catch up. And if they get their charge bonus down, they will catch this unit of Shield Bearers from Seraph. Over here, Doriath still putting up a fight. Oh, there goes Stu's general, falling in combat against Seraph's axemen. Footmen of Amaras, slowly but surely grinding their way through, but they've taken a decent amount of damage here. A lot of these footmen are down to less than half strength. See, I was going to push through. Let's see how Tundra's Fox is faring against Secretariat's army. Haven't seen too much over here. Still got some functional bowmen, but it looks like his lines have been overwhelmed. We got some defenders of Aglon bearing down on the Wardens of the Girdle. They're going to get one last volley off of their poison arrows before they are silenced forever by Secretariat's heavy swordsmen. And some more Wardens of the Girdle here being thrown into battle against Secretariat's army. It's looking grim. Looking very grim indeed. I don't see any other reinforcements for Tundra's Fox here. Well, it seems like a lot of dead Lancers in the back. I think a large portion of the other two remaining Doriath armies have actually managed to make it to the gate here. So we have a large contingent from Seraph. We got Axe Guard, full strength Axe Guard. Some marksmen. We got some marksmen of Region here who seem to be having some pathfinding issues. And unfortunately, Seraph wasn't paying enough attention, and this unit is going to get left outside, and they will be swallowed up eventually. Over here, we might have some troops from Tundra's Fox. Yes, we have some half-strength shield bearers, but I think that might be all. Some sword host here from Seraph as he tries to get them inside. Maybe they'll see some extra units. Got some Mounted Company of Region here. We're kind of the last men standing, and there's some shield bearers. A couple companies of shield bearers. I don't know if they're going to make it all the way. They've got a long way to run to the safety of the 1,000 Caves. Now here. Some Spear Host of the Girdle from Tundra's Fox being thrown under the bus to try and buy some time. Seraph unfortunately not paying attention again and retreating directly through a unit of heavy swordsmen, so most of these sword hosts are going to get caught out and slaughtered. Small, demoralized company of spearmen here might make it. I think I've got some spearmen around here too, some Spear Hosts of the Girdle, and I'm just going to use them as kind of a vanguard. I can see some of Stu's cavalry prowling the woods, and I want to try and save whatever I can of my allies' more valuable units. So that's basically my only goal. That's my only unit left as well. My army has been almost completely crushed by Stu's. Unfortunately, I did not have the necessary tools to fight that kind of Sons of Feyenoor army. I didn't have any of the cavalry I would need to put up a fight. I certainly didn't have the infantry. Most of my medium tier units just don't cut it against Footmen of Amoros, against their heavily armored defenders of Aglon, and certainly not against a lot of their cavalry units. They can outmaneuver me, they can shoot me down with their mounted bowmen, and of course they can take a nice bite out of me with their mounted company as well. That being said, in terms of cavalry, we gave, I think, as good as we got. Stu does not have a lot of cavalry left, and we did manage to deal some significant damage to some units, like the Defenders of Aglon there with 39 in the unit. And we've certainly taken away well over half of his javelin men, and a lot of his units are quite tired from an extended engagement against our own. What do we got over here? Yeah, and there they are, the marksmen getting caught out. Unfortunately, I was pinging them, and I was trying to tell Seraph that he needs to get them inside, but he just wasn't paying attention to chat, and he wasn't paying attention to the map. So this poor unit of marksmen of Region, they are no more. Looks like, amazingly, those two ragged companies of spearmen are going to manage to get inside and make it to the gates of Menegroth. I'll take a quick look here at kind of what's available. It's not a ton. It's really not that much. I got Axe Guard here, a couple units of Axe Guard. Got some Doriath and Mablin from Tundra's Fox. That's great. So we have two companies, full strength, of this heavily armored bodyguard. They're a fantastic unit to have against the Sons of Feyenoor. A little bit of Axe Guard here, some Sword Hosts from Seraph, some Spearmen here from Tundra's Fox, and they're going to be augmented by at least one company. Fortunately, these shield bearers got caught out by, I think that's Stu's cavalry. Yep, indeed it is. Seraph's going to see it, going to see the marksmen, try and get them out. And then again, another big micro mistake here from Seraph that's going to be costly going into the late game. Like, this is potentially how you lose games when you don't save every man, especially when you're the defender and you're outnumbered and outclassed in a lot of cases like us. I'm going to try and escort these guys in with my Spear Host of the Girdle. We are going to get like a nice attack here from the rear against this cavalry. That's full strength Roqueni Magloro there, so if we can take down some of them, that'd be lovely. But again, that Spearman unit got swallowed up. Seraph is not force marching his units through here, and they are going to get caught out. Again. I mean, I gotta call it as I see it. When I see mistakes like this, I do need to point them out. And this was a really, really big mistake that cost us a very fine swordsman unit, a company of spearmen, and this is where my spearmen are also going to die as well, trying to support these guys in. Yeah, so he had an opportunity here, a clear path back in, but instead he's just going to opt to lose this unit, which is really unfortunate for very, very little gain. Like, this is, whatever they kill is going to be extremely marginal compared to what they could have killed in the choke points supporting the rest of the army. So very unfortunate. It seems like there's still something going on over here, and I'm quite curious.
Our allies have fled the field like cowards.
What do we have here? Spearmen and some shield bearers from Tundra's Fox. In an extended punch-up with some Marchers of Amarods. Ultimately, not a very consequential engagement here. But it looks like the archers will be overwhelmed with that javelin support. Well, I think... looks like there's some more support here from Secretariat. In all likelihood, these two forces will exhaust each other, and that'll be the end. And they won't play a hugely significant role. So from here on out, gets a little bit slow. We're going to fast forward through the destruction. Very, very wasteful loss of these marksmen of Region. And the Sons of Feyenoor armies, we're going to see them come into full view here, and we'll be able to take stock of kind of what they have left. Look at the percentages there. It's very, very far ahead in terms of percentages. And a lot of that comes down to me. I wasn't really able to kill more than a few hundred of them, maybe about 500 in total of Stu's army, most of which was cavalry, which wouldn't even be all that useful in this next fight. I didn't have the composition necessary to face down my opponent, and it really showed. And you can see it there in the percentages. That's huge. It's nearly 30%. It's like 27 or so. The Sons of Feyenoor army, they're going to push right in, and the warriors of Doriath are going to meet them, and battle will be joined inside of the 1,000 caves. More and more of them pushing in. Doriath and Moblung are going to muscle their way into the center of this conflict. They're going to start doing some serious damage here. Yeah, this is where it starts to become a bit of a blob fight. Both sides muscling against each other. Doriath doesn't want to push out, though. They don't have the numbers to lose. They're far better off letting the Sons of Feyenoor push their way in. Ooh, that's devastating. It's a real nasty fight here. We're going to go ahead and leave it on 2 times. And this is where the army of Doriath is going to have a chance to pull it back. This choke point is their last hope for any kind of victory. Ooh, Doriath and Moblung have been instrumental in hammering back the Sons of Feyenoor infantry. Still some reserves here as well. Another unit moving forward. Marksmen of Region. I think that's pretty well it for the reserves of the Grey Elves of Doriath. Although, no, there's some hidden stuff behind here. But that's mostly in the form of a cavalry unit, which, as I mentioned, is not super useful. At this point, they're more like mounted infantry anyway. Might be useful for like a mass push or something. But Doriath's really going all in here. Sons of Feyenoor are starting to gain ground on Doriath's right, so they're going to move in, try and shut that down as quickly as possible. Still a couple of other units over here that would be very, very potent against the Sons of Feyenoor. They're being currently held in reserve. Look at those percentages there. Yeah, it's definitely starting to tip in favor of Doriath. They are starting to bring it back. Even if the Sons of Feyenoor manage to hammer their way through, this is nonetheless going to be a very Pyrrhic victory for them, which I think is quite fitting, given the nature of this historical battle. It was just destructive for both sides, destructive and wasteful for everybody. The only real winner of a battle between elf and elf is Morgoth and the forces of disorder. More Sons of Feyenoor infantry just muscling their way in. Both sides just going balls deep into this choke point. More and more reserves pushing through, but yeah, if they can't get through, that's basically it. If they lose their infantry here, then the cavalry that they do have is going to be pretty ineffective at muscling their way through a choke point filled with these units. There's every weapon type imaginable in here. Spears, swords, maces, axes. It's just a real minefield for any cavalryman to try and muscle his way into. Probably the best thing I think that they could do at this point is wait for the Doriath army to thin out and then try and muscle in with their cavalry once the danger is at least somewhat diminished, but it's going to be a while. Like I said, Doriath and Moblung over here helping to hold back the tide. If only I had mine. It'd be wonderful if I had my Doriath and Moblung still available for this fight, but I used them in a charge. Now it looks like the other unit is going to join the fray here. Exactly where they need to be. I mean, say what you will. Oh, no, they're being pulled out. It might be a good idea to move them in there. Doriath is getting quite thin. Yeah, I sincerely hope that Seraph moves them in, because that's going to be crucial in making sure that the Sons of Feyenoor don't get a a foothold. What we got here, just a unit of marksmen? Single unit of marksmen. I thought they were axemen. That's my bad. No, it's really going back and forth here. Up to 69. Sons of Feyenoor have crawled ahead another 6%. But we're up by about 15 or so from where we were. So that's pretty big disparity in ratio there in terms of the casualties being inflicted versus the casualties sustained by the Sons of Feyenoor. Thunders of Aglon are holding on. Now I think would be a good time to commit the Doriath and Mablung, where the Warriors of Doriath are a little bit thinner over on this side. They've got Sons of Feyenoor pinned, got them exactly where they want them to be. Now would be a good time to get in there and really drive that advantage home before they can start to overwhelm, especially on this wing with the numbers, which is already slowly starting to happen. Here we go. I hope that... no, they're not going to go quite into the right place. Yeah, that's unfortunate. They're not really going to do anything here. I assume that Seraph is a little bit newer, but I will explain why this is potentially an issue. Although, you know, I say this, but now there's a big mass push going up through the center, so this is probably where they exactly need to be. But yeah, why I viewed this initially as a potential problem was when you throw units into like a big blob like this and they're not directly attacking, then they're getting fatigued like they are fighting, but they're not actually doing any damage. So you're losing out on a lot of fighting potential there. But turned out to be a good idea as that cavalry tries to muscle its way through. It looks like they did exactly what would be sensible, waited for us to thin out, and then used the cavalry as a battering ram to push their way through and to open up holes in our line. Mount Company going to move in and check that advance as well. Good move there from Seraph. Doriath and Mablung took some pretty heavy casualties there in that push as well. They're really losing ground quite quickly. Much more quickly than you would expect from a fresh unit of them fighting these exhausted Sons of Feyenoor units. Let's see where we're at. 93 to 77, 93 to 78. It's a tough fight. But it looks like a mass push here from the Sons of Feyenoor is going to be enough to break the lines of Doriath. Just going to push their way on through. Yep, there's not a whole lot that can be done here, unfortunately. The numbers are against us. If we had more numbers from outside, maybe we could have held for longer. Maybe could have inflicted the casualties needed in order to beat these guys down. Marksmen of Region fighting sword to sword with the defenders of Aglon, but they are ultimately going to be overwhelmed here. There's also a pretty good shot. Maybe we'll use that one as well. The Sons of Feyenoor have done it. They have breached the 1,000 caves. They have slashed their way through the soldiery of Doriath, who are now on their last legs. The final 4% struggling hard against the Sons of Feyenoor. 83% casualties, however, on the part of the Sons of Feyenoor. That is gigantic. I cannot overstate how disastrous that would be, having only 17% of their already small base of followers remaining to them. This is only a victory for Morgoth, for the Iron Crown in the north.
Our ally lies dead. Without their general, they may lose heart and flee.
And that would be one of the officers of Doriath, most likely Mablung, falling beneath the swords of the Sons of Feyenoor. We're down to the last few thousand frames here. 84%. I'm going to go ahead, fast forward here, as the thin lines of Doriath get even thinner. But like, that was a fight. That was a real struggle. From outside to inside the caves, the Warriors of Doriath fought bravely, but we just didn't have the numbers, unfortunately. I didn't have the army composition in order to do the amount of casualties that I needed, so that's partially down to me. And we ended up losing a lot of very valuable units outside. So not having the numbers and not being able to do the damage we needed to be able to do, especially on my side, it has taken its toll. 87% casualties to 99. I think it ends up being about 88 to 100%. So just a devastating. Look at the struggle in here. Just completely apocalyptic for both sides. The Warriors of Doriath fought tooth and nail to defend their homelands, but unfortunately, it was not enough, and the last remnant of them pinned against the wall here by the vengeful sons of Feyenoor and their soldiery. We're going to go ahead and kick it into 2x speed here, as the last of these units begin to fall. And there you have it. 87 to 100%. Difference there of about 13%. Completely disgustingly devastating for each side. Looks like some of them are going to break off and claim the throne of Thingol, which presumably is right here. What are we down to? Just a handful of axemen, just 4 of them, standing with their backs literally against the wall. And that's going to be it. 100% to 87. But can you really call this a victory? That's about all that remained when you saw there in that last shot of the Sons of Feyenoor. Not even hundreds. Like, honestly, this includes casualties that would be considered healed, as you can see in this column right here. So really, it's probably more like maybe there's 300, 400 Sons of Feyenoor left. Go ahead here and take a look at, I think this is the center army, so a lot of damage there done by the Doriath and Moblung. Axguard of Region doing very well for themselves, nearly 200 kills apiece. Marksmen not really being all that useful, but again, they're more of a control unit rather than an outright damaging tool. I think this is Tundra Fox's army. I could be wrong. His Jonathan Mablung did alright. Wardens of the Girdle did not bad as well. Yeah, he had more Wardens of the Girdle and Spearhost here, so this probably would have been Tundra Fox's army. And then we have my army, which was very sad indeed. If you look there, I did about 600 casualties, which is well below my allies. But we did the best, I think, with the tools we had available to us. Some of our Spear Guard did well. Jonathan Moblung did very, very below what they could have been able to do, but that's just because they were focused down by so many Horse Archers early on. My Outriders did okay. Nearly 40 or so kills there between the two of them. Marksman, yeah, did alright. Sword Host, everything just did kind of okay. But again, also our army's not very large either. Like, we had by far the smallest and the weakest army, so I think we did okay. But ultimately, we kind of let our teammates down, and a lot of that comes down to our composition. So, kind of sucks, but sometimes it do be like that. In any case, my name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Hope you guys have enjoyed this historical battle. I will have more coming to you in the subsequent days, but I am going to be taking a little bit more time to raise the level of quality to something that you can expect to be similar to the introduction to this video and to everything else that's gone into it. So that will take some time, but so far, I hope you guys have been enjoying me being kind of back online and creating content again, and I hope you'll join me for whatever comes next. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.